everyone. It's United States Senate candidate and Florida State Representative Angie Nixon here. And I am just leaving Senator-elect Brian Nathan's campaign victory party. He just flipped a state Senate seat in the Tampa Bay area. And not only that, State Representative-elect Emily Gregory just gave Trump the massive L in his own backyard. She flipped a state house seat in Mar-a-Lago in the Palm Beach County area. What does that tell us? That tells us that people are tired of Donald Trump and his administration and all the cruelty that he's been pushing. That tells us that money can no longer buy you love. That tells us that organized people will beat organized money any day. And so what I need from you all is to join our people-powered campaign. Come help us defeat Trump in his own backyard and take back this United States Senate seat. We can do this, y'all, if you just believe. If you could, rush me a $25 donation, $5 donation, whatever you have. Let's take this U.S. Senate seat. We can do this. Join our People Power campaign at angienixon.com. Let's go, y'all.
Why are the 90s so resonant? Because that was the last time we had a monoculture. That was the last time we had shared reference points. Tens of millions of people would sit and watch these shows night after night. And that's why it's culturally resonant. And that's why, for so many of us who grew up in that era, we think and look back on it fondly. Now, everyone's sort of in their own silos. Everybody has a phone. I remember when Crisscross. Remember Crisscross?
Of course I remember. How dare you? Of course I remember Crisscross.
Well, you know, they were the performers on In Living Color, and their whole thing was that they would wear their clothes backwards.
Yep.
So,
and they'll make you jump.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes.
Next day, go to school, everybody has their clothes on backwards. Not me, because I was wearing sweater vests and button downs back then. And I went to a diverse school, and I'm looking around like, where are all these kids with their clothes on backwards? But it was because everybody had watched them the previous night on In Living Color. That's the kind of thing that we're missing.
All right. Good morning, peace and love, and welcome to Black Press USA's morning show, where we bring you the headlines and the culture. And of course, one of the headlines is Texas kicked butt yesterday. And you heard from Angie Nixon, who was running for Senate. She's a former lawmaker on a state level. And so we're excited for her run and what's happening in Texas. And of course, we're talking about the 90s and pop culture. So I had to bring my girl in for co-host this morning. Welcome, Frankie Robinson, 98.7 Kiss Birmingham and 107.3 Jams, Greenville, South Carolina. Welcome.
Good morning, Neil. Good morning. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, we're glad you're here. We're glad you're here. And so you heard from the PBS Hour talking about culture and back in the 90s, how we were a monoculture and the connectivity that we had across the United States, because we would all be sitting in front of a television at the same time, watching the same show, having the same experience. And to his point, that doesn't happen anymore in this country. Or around the world.
Even music was shared back then. Of course, we all sat down and watched Fresh Prince. We watched The Cosby Show. We watched Different World. There aren't even any programs on television that I know of on the main networks who have that kind of audience anymore. We no longer have very few or very little or even none sitcoms will represent Black families in a positive light, or at all for that fact of matter, that any culture that can identify with, you know,
right?
Be it you're Black, you're white, you're Hispanic, you know, you can see your family in that family. And we don't have that representation anymore, especially in music. Across the board. We had Lisa Stansfield, we had Culture Club, we had, you know, in the 80s and in the 90s, we had all different kinds of music that had music
that resonated, and it was across the board, which
Yeah.
brings us to our morning poll. The chat is chatting already. I want to say good morning. First in the chat, it's usually Orangey, but this morning it was Pixie Simmons, and she said good morning, or he said good morning.
Good morning, chat.
From Philly. Okay, so Philly's checking in. Orangey, of course, is there. Happy Wednesday. And another Black MAGA candidate loses again, this time in Florida. And what's so significant about that is that it was in Trump's territory, Mar-a-Lago. And come to find out, Trump is trying to get rid of mail-in ballots. He sent his mail-in ballot in. I don't know if it wasn't for this election, but he has voted absentee before. So the nerve of him. The nerve. Okay.
Nothing surprises me. I don't know if you remember in Power, when 50 Cent played Kanan, he had a famous line that said, anything they said he did that. So yeah, anything they say Trump did, he did that.
Nancy Wallace checking in. She said, I watched The Neighborhood with Cedric and others, but they are canceled also. Yeah.
Yeah,
the Upshaw. Oh my God, I love the Upshaws.
Yeah, they got canceled as well. So.
The Upshaws was good, but to that gentleman's point, it's not something that we all gather to watch. We can watch it when we want it. We can binge watch it. But back in the day, there was a day and there was a time.
Thursdays at 7 on NBC and Fridays at 7 on ABC.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. And see, for us on the West Coast, it was 8:00.
Okay.
Oh, and then somebody says, oh, in Sanford and Son. I mean, yeah, and Good Times, but that was further back. You know, we were talking
in the 70s.
Yeah, we're talking 2000s, right? 90s, 2000s, late 90s, 2000s. That's what we're talking about. But here's our morning poll. The chat loves a good poll. So here it goes. Music streaming data for March 2026 shows a massive surge in recession pop. Now, they're talking about upbeat hits from the late 2000s. I think we can go back to the 90s as well. That Gen X parents and their kids are both blasting right now. So the poll question, folks, is they're calling it the pop recession. People who are ditching the moody new stuff and going back to the high energy club anthems. So which vibe is winning in your car right now, chat? Are you giving in to the throwbacks, or are you sticking with the new hits? Put an A if you're doing throwbacks. Put a B if you're doing the new hits. How about you, Frankie? What are you vibing to right now?
Always for me, throwbacks. I usually do a little mix because I have to stay abreast on what's going on. But I was just noticing that a lot of rappers from today, the newer rappers, are using a lot of throwback beats. I was just looking at a video that Chicago rapper Mellow Bucks, she posted a freestyle over Missy's Work It. And yeah, and it was amazing. But yeah, I'm noticing a lot of that. It's a big trend lately. Plus, I mean, 90s.
You can't.
Was amazing.
Right. And even the 80s, I think J. Anthony Brown, who comes on sometimes, he posted a video yesterday about white music you listen to, and I think we did that a lot in the 80s, right? And the 70s. Color didn't matter. You know, I was listening to Culture Club. I used to love oh my God. Duran. Everybody Wants to Rule the World. That is my go-to karaoke song. Okay. When I go karaoke, that's the first one I start with is Everybody Wants to Rule the World. Madonna. I used to love Madonna.
I wanted to be Madonna. I had all the bangles, the lace gloves, the glasses.
Lucky Star, Borderline. I mean, that's when music transcended color. There were no color lines. Kind of like football, the Super Bowl. That's the day where color don't matter. It's just who's your team.
Nope.
Music is not like that anymore. I mean, I guess a little bit. Some people like what's her name? Carpenter. Samantha. What's her name? Sabrina Carpenter.
And then you have the Olivia Dean. She is crossover.
Oh, I love her. I love her. But then she's black though, right? She's a little cute black girl. She's
Uh,
biracial.
I think she's mixed. Yeah, I think,
Okay.
but she's from the UK, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think
Right, she is. So
Yeah.
the chat is chatting. Chan is saying A. They're doing the throwbacks. Las Mopar is A. And then Irv P78 says jazz only. Okay. Michelle Madison says A, throwbacks. Dr. Marilyn is doing the throwback. She loves the 90s. And Orangey says the song Take Me Through There makes me laugh. If it is small, make me jump a little like a hurdle. What is that? Do you know what you're talking about?
It's a rap song. Take me through there. Take me through there.
Oh.
Yeah,
that's
a rap
new.
song from today.
That's big. Okay, from today. Okay, my bad. You know what I'm listening to. Chan says Solar Records music, Shalimar, Whispers, Climax. Okay. We got some Sade, some Joss Stone. Somebody said, Michelle says, my son is a DJ and he plays both for his clients, somewhat oldies, but his white clients want hip hop.
Oh, yeah. Man,
always.
I get a lot of phone calls, requests, ironically, from Southern white men who are requesting hip hop, more so like Nelly. They ask, for those favorite, the Apple Bottom Jeans song, Flow Rider, things of that nature. But
okay,
it will always be a good Shalimar, DeBarge, something going on in my vehicle. I tune into the 80s station a lot.
Okay. I've been vibing a lot to Raphael Sadiq. I saw him not too long ago and he just brought back all the feels. But then of course I'm also vibing right now to that Jill Scott, which I'm loving. I'm loving it.
It's no skips for that whole album. To Whom It May Concern, she dropped it last month. It's amazing. She starts her tour in June. It is amazing. Pressure is in high rotation on my show, and it's going up the charts.
The way she delivered that song, I think it was on Jimmy Fallon last week. The delivery, it's the delivery for me. And then the backup singers. I mean, they're like Bernard, what's his name? Bernard, what's that? You know what I'm talking about, right?
Bernard.
Yeah, they're giving those vibes.
Jill Scott is a force, always has been. Her presence demands attention, and her delivery, like you said, is everything. But if you just listen to the lyrics of that song, and that's another thing about transcending in music, she could be talking about a white woman, a black woman, you know what I mean? Just the pressure of feeling like
you gotta fit in. Yeah.
Girl. You chase me. She told you chase me down to take me to lunch only just to play with me. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
As a woman, I don't care if you are green. I'm pretty sure you've experienced something like that. So, that is why she is number one right now in R&B.
Right. I mean, and I think like even like that song, dealing with men, it can also be about career. It's just like this pressure to just be part of what's trending. And it's like, no.
I have it. You have it. I'm sure especially me in my field. You know what I mean? Because even though I'm behind the scenes, it's still like when I hit those stages, there's a face behind the voice. You know what I mean? And people can see you now. Radio is not like it used to be back in the day where nobody could see you at all. There's social media. There are a lot of shows that we host. Things that we do, remotes. So it's pressure. It's pressure.
It's
looking good and that physical representation.
And I'm also glad we got more. We got Jazz, Ohio Players, Shaka Khan always had mixed bands, Rufus. What about Hotel California or Michael McDonald? Every black woman wanted a duet with Michael McDonald, okay?
Michael McDonald was the man. That voice was so soulful. What was the other one? Michael Bolton. He was another one who had a very soulful voice. And then you had Never Gonna Give You Up, Never Gonna
Let You Down.
Yeah, his voice was soulful. It was a lot of soulful, like I said, Lisa Stansfield. You had a lot of soulful white people who have music that transcended to R&B music, and a lot of them came from the UK. You know, they had that sound, like you said, Josh Stone, those voices.
We love a good Wham and Michael McDonald. Everything she
love a good
wants.
Wham.
Everything she wants, baby. So we can go on and on, but I think before we get into some of these hard-hitting headlines, I think that 2026, I was saying this yesterday on the Jill Monroe show, 2026 is the year of Gen X. I mean, you have Jay-Z, which we're going to get into a little bit later. You got T.I., you got Jill Scott, you got Erykah Badu, you got this tour with Salt and Pepper, In Vogue, TLC. You got Jodeci on tour. You got Mary J. Blige with a residency in Vegas. This is the year of Gen X, and I'm all for it. I'm all for it.
Lil Kim is touring right now with the Pussycat Dolls, her and Maya. You got Jeezy, who is doing also a residency in Vegas. There are a lot of tours. I don't know if you noticed that, but this year, there's a lot of tours. And there's a huge show. I won't spill the beans because I can't. But there's a huge tour that is about to be announced coming up very shortly. So with that being said, I don't know if this is the overlay for the underplay, that they just know that we need that distraction right now, or I don't know what it is, but everybody is on tour.
And it's a Gen X thing, like the New Edition, Tony Braxton and Boys to Men. That tour is 3 hours of greatness. It's 3 hours of just pure greatness. I felt like a teenager the way that I was screaming and dancing and jumping around. It's just phenomenal. But the chat,
you went to the show.
I went to the show, baby, by myself. And that's why yesterday we were talking about them Jay-Z tickets. I bought one ticket and I had fabulous seats. Okay. So don't estimate the single ticket. You can still go with your friends, but get you that good seat for one ticket. But the show is phenomenal. It's almost 3 hours of the best of New Edition, BBD, Bobby Brown, Ralph Tresvant, Johnny Gill, Boys to Men, Tony Braxton. I mean, they give you full-fledged phenomenal performances.
I can't wait. It'll be here this weekend in Birmingham on Saturday.
You're gonna love it.
So I will definitely be in the building.
So a couple more before we move on. Average white man, Hall & Oates, baby. Let's not forget about Hall & Oates. They said go Gen X. Did I say Gen X? Gen Z? I meant Gen X. This is the year of Gen X. Cyndi Lauper, Red Hot Chili Peppers. You can feel like a teenager your entire life. Okay, I like that. But yeah, I love it. I love it. So you're going to enjoy the New Edition concert, and we're going to talk about Jay-Z a little bit later in the show. But let's talk about some politics. So Maxine Waters, our beloved Auntie Maxine, who's 87, is vowing to stay in her leadership role while America pushes for younger leadership. So the California Congresswoman is hoping to stay in leadership as chair of the House Financial Services Committee if her party wins the majority in November's anticipated midterm election. So Waters' primary challenger, Mila Rahman, she says she's done a lot and a lot of great work, but we're saying let's pass the baton and let a new generation of leadership come have a seat at the table. So American voters, Frankie feels the same way. A new poll from Daily Mail reveals that a massive 63% of voters want age limits for their elected officials, with 70 identified as the cutting off age. So what are your thoughts about, Clyburn recently said that he's going to run again. And so, him and Auntie Maxine are pushing 90. What are your thoughts about our older leaders who have done a lot and still have major influence within Congress, continuing to run for office?
Okay, be it as it may, we love Auntie Maxine. She's done great things. But I think about her situation like I thought about mine. Up until this year or last year in 2025, I have been doing urban hip hop radio for all of my career.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 50. At a certain point, you have to pass that baton. And I had to step into who I was and go to Urban AC Radio. Not to say that she has to totally give up doing politics, but train someone else, bring them up, allow them to do your job just as well, if not better, than what you're doing now. We have to be realistic. Once you get a certain age, certain things cognitively start being impaired. You know what I mean? Whether you could be sharp as a tack. It just happens. You know what I'm saying? I was just looking at something yesterday online. Somebody said, show me how you've changed as you've gotten older. And it was an eye chart. One was blurry and one was clear. So it's just like certain things happen to you regardless, age. It just happens. I feel like she should go ahead and pass the baton and give it to someone new. And she can still be an influence in a lot of different ways, but it's time to give up that seat. And I think it should be an age limit. Frontal lobe, dementia is real. You know what I mean? So you need to go ahead and train up someone else. That's just like for me in radio, the Kikis, and who am I to just sit in the seat of urban hip hop radio when I should really be transcending, going on to something else in urban AC radio, which would fit me better and make me feel more comfortable in my own skin. So
Nancy Wallace saying age and term limits. There are many that need to pass the baton. Let us know in the chat too if you feel like we need age limits. Not singling out Auntie Maxine, but just in general, if you think there should be term limits. I mean, I think though in Congress, the tradition of Congress, and when we look at the makeup of the Congressional Black Caucus, and it's tenure is a thing in Congress. And so the way Congress is set up is that the longer you're there, the more power you yield. And so Maxine is primed to take back the chair of the financial committee. That's cryptocurrency, that's banking. And I think she's looking at that. So it's like a catch-22 because like Jasmine Crockett, she tried to run for chair of a committee and they told her, you haven't been here long enough. So no, ma'am. And so I think, it's a balance. Like, okay, yeah, they have to pass the baton. But I also think if that's the case, then Congress needs to change their approach about how they rank people in committees. Agreed. You shouldn't have to be there for 50 and 60 years to be a chair of a committee. So if we're going to change the rules and set these term limits, I totally agree. But I think we have to look at another approach as to how Congress decides who yields power in these committee hearings, because that's what it's all about. And that's why these people are holding on. That's why Mitch McConnell was holding on, because stay in Congress to yield that power. And once you get it, now everybody's saying you got to go because you're too old and you can't process. So it's a catch-22.
Yeah, but I agree with you wholeheartedly. They should change the rules because it's like seniority as far as age goes. But then you get the age and you're not able to perform it.
Yeah, I mean, I think 90. Oh, go ahead, Greer. You wanted to chime in?
What I'm concerned about, like you mentioned Mitch McConnell, I do not believe that Mitch McConnell is making any decisions. And there are lawmakers who are in these positions. We've seen them. There was one that was dead for months. Who was voting on her behalf during that time? You know what I mean? I don't believe that Mitch McConnell has it all there. And so when situations like that come about, it's unfair to their constituents and to the American people that someone else that we did not elect is making decisions, on behalf of this person because they want to maintain power and hold the seat. We've seen this over and over again. So definitely something's got to change. We can't, have that. Ain't no way in hell you can tell me that Mitch McConnell is making decisions for his constituents. And his people, they racist as hell, if you ask me, if you're still voting to have this man who's falling down, who's walking around, the Capitol.
Doing the mannequin challenge. Yeah.
He can't answer any questions. And they, pushing him up to the podium So who's making decisions for his constituents?
No, that's 100%. You had Dianne Feinstein. You saw Eleanor Holmes. There had to be care, but they kind of had to talk her down, like you can't run again. And then so it's our nation, as we look at 250 years, we have a lot of reinventing to do as to how we approach our governing in this country, because tenure is a huge piece of it. And we're looking that might not be the best for the American people. Let's head to another conversation that's happening on the Hill. U.S. Rep. Summer Lee says James Comer, who is problematic and always attacking Black women, called her a bitch. That's what she's saying during a closed-door meeting over the Epstein files. Now, the Pennsylvania Congresswoman shared her frustration with a reporter over how the meeting went with Comer, who was the chairman of the House Oversight Committee. She says, I just walked out of a fake deposition, a fake hearing where Chairman Comer, and see, look how respectful, she's still calling him chairman. I don't know if I could have did that. Called me a bitch, she said, after the incident, as reported by BET News. And so the lack of disrespect, that's a problem too, though. You want to be careful who you let get these chairs, who's the chair of the committee. Because that's totally unacceptable to call her, a Black woman, a bitch, a white man.
Well, I think we've seen how a lot of white men in politics view Black women. And again, the statement goes for him as well. He's been known to be very disrespectful,
problematic.
And I will say again, anything they said he did that.
Right. And he's denied it. He denied it on X. We have to say that. And then Chan is saying, never lower yourself to their level. Yeah, that's that whole when they go low, we go high. But Cardi B said, Cardi B says, I'm gonna take you to hell. Okay. And there are times
we're like Cardi, we going to hell.
There are times when you have to do that. And then there are times when you have to go high, when they go low. But I think both apply depending on the situation. Okay.
I think it's hard as Black women work to gain those seats and to be recognized in those positions. I think it's already hurtful for any woman to be called a bitch, but especially after you have clawed your way to those positions and you fought tooth and nail to be where you are, for someone to come along and undermine you and disrespect you in that manner. It's heartbreaking. I can only imagine how she must have felt, after experiencing that.
And let's put into context, they were in a hearing about the Epstein files. So she's speaking up for women and trying to hold men, perverted, nasty, pedophile men accountable.
Well, you see how Donald Trump talks to the female reporters, calls them stupid and fat and, all kinds of names, and disrespects them. So, they feel like it's comfortable. They're comfortable with doing that because here's your leader, the president of the country, who is doing the same thing. So why not? They got free reign right now. To be disrespectful and to be racist to women of all colors. You know what I mean? Yeah,
we talked about the SAVE Act and how, one of the groups of people that it will impact the most, whether you're Black or white, are women.
Women, yeah.
Because you get married, you change your name, and now you have to go through all of these steps to prove that, you're able to vote. And so it attacks women. Dr. Marilyn says she should have called him one back and said his mama is one. I like it. I do.
Too, Dr. Hager. Hey.
I gotta weigh in on this too, because we gotta stop. These white men, these white lawmakers in particular, these kinds of attacks on Black women on the Hill, and nobody comes to their defense. Okay, and not just Black women. Remember the lawmaker that posted this disgusting meme about ALC. No, they need to be called out. They need to be censored. Imagine, let me just ask you this. Imagine if a black lawmaker was acting like a male lawmaker was, do you think that they would just, oh, it's okay? If somebody called Nancy Mace a bitch?
Absolutely
Come on.
not.
No, and we keep having to turn the other way. No, yeah, I would have been like, your mama's a bitch.
Right.
I would have said that right to him. I mean, it's right, because at the point you're saying that in the meeting, that means, listen, ain't no rules here.
But that's why we're gonna miss people like Jasmine Crockett, okay? Because she's quick with the comebacks, and she not playing with you. You come for me, I'm coming double for you.
Bad
And we need to see, right? That we need that. Ayanna Presley is another one.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And Rep. LaMonica McIver, she's one too. But now she has the stress on her back of facing almost 17 years in a federal prison for helping the least of these and looking out for one of her colleagues. And so Black women are always on the forefront. We're always doing the heavy lifting. And then we're always the ones to be disrespected. And to Greer's point, nobody having our back. Mike V says, one battle after another isn't just a movie, Niel, it's a reality. So true. So
and
true.
When we speak up for ourselves, then we are labeled the angry Black woman. Then, oh yeah, look, she's doing exactly what we thought she would do. But that's not the case, like you said, because no one is standing up for us. So we have to stand up for ourselves.
Right. Orange G says that is right. And I would have said, take me through there. Where are we going, twin? After I talk that person's mom. Okay. But so as you brought up the point of like who's standing up for us. Well, it looks like Delta Airlines is standing up for the people because they have suspended its airport escorts and red coat services for Congress members and their staff, citing the partial shutdown of the Department of Homeland Security. Now, the move comes a week after Delta CEO Ed Batson blasted Congress for failing to authorize pay for Transportation Security Administration agents during this shutdown. TSA is a division of DHS, which we know falls under Homeland Security. We've been talking about that this week. But I think this is a good move. And corporations now, you see, they're not liking what's happening on Capitol Hill either. And now they're figuring out how to fight back.
Yeah, they're losing money. 49 Republican senators voted against giving funding to TSAs. We got people sleeping outside in their cars of these airports who work as TSAs in places like DC because of the fact that they don't have enough money for gas money. We got people being put out of their homes, resorting to sleep out in their cars because they don't have a home and still going to work. So yes, why not? This is causing chaos, within our national airports. It is a mess. Have you seen Atlanta?
Well, so Atlanta was good yesterday, right? And then today it's a mess, hot mess again. And so
I just traveled from Chicago and I left out of Midway on early Monday morning, and it wasn't that bad. Okay. O'Hare is a different story. And now you got ICE agents in several airports, O'Hare, San Francisco, dragging people out of there. So then there's another element. You just got a lot going on right now with
and safety concerns too.
Airport.
We have to think of the air traffic controllers. They're a part of this too. And, they're tired. They say some of the TSA agents are sleeping in their cars because gas prices are so high. And so this country is in turmoil. And there's one person or group of people to blame, and that is the Trump Klan administration and Republicans in Congress. And so we could talk this, we can talk that, but we also have to talk about it's their fault. Dr. Mike Davis reminded us that we have to hold Republicans accountable too, because I'm very critical of the Democratic Party and how they are moving to combat all of these things. Like, where is the conversation around these people not having their jobs, more so than pulling up for a 7-minute hit on CNN or MSN now. You know, we really need some strong messaging. I heard like Tom Steyer is running for governor out here. And he is not a Democrat, but you know why he's winning? Because he is spending tons of money on advertisement. And so my point in saying that is that I think the Democrats need to really do a hard push to, you know, table talk, kitchen, what do they call it? Kitchen counter, round the table talks about the issues that the American people are talking about. Gas prices, inflation, can't pay for groceries, you know, gun violence in schools, you know, ICE agents killing American citizens. I want to see more of that. Let's jump into another topic. As we talk about this country celebrating 250 years, the Black experience is a part of that 250 years. And this next story talks about, it's part of that history. You know, they want to talk about all the good stuff that white men did. But let's talk about the bad stuff that white men did and how certain communities across this country are correcting it. In a historic effort to restore dignity to those buried, the Lawrence, Kansas branch of the NAACP will install 30 custom headstones at Oak Hill Cemetery. Now, the markers will occupy an area of Oak Hill Cemetery known as Potter's Field, and it's a section of the cemetery that housed the remains of unknown residents between 1866, just a year after the emancipation, and 1917. So in 2021, the discovery of long lost cemetery plots chart outline the location of those interned and once unknown. Among those finally receiving markers, their names are Isaac King, George Robertson, and Peter Vinegar, 3 Black men who were lynched by a white mob in 1882. So for over 140 years, their final resting places remain unmarked and unacknowledged by the city. That's 250 years of American history too.
And you got to remember that these were people that were impoverished. We look at funeral expenses these days, you know, we get insurance, it's a drop in the bucket. You might have to add a few dollars extra depending on what kind of services you want. But back then, people were poor, and that was a luxury. You know what I mean? That was a luxury. A headstone? What? That was unheard of. So yes, there's more where that came from.
Mm-hmm.
That we don't know about. But yeah, I'm glad they are doing something about it. I've known about Potter's Field for quite some time, and it's always been something that has laid heavy on my heart, you know, because you got to think about how many other unknown situations, unknown graves, you know, have our ancestors in them that didn't have an opportunity to have a headstone or to even be acknowledged at all.
100%. And yeah, this happens a lot. We talk about these types of stories where, you know, plots were discovered. They say Central Park, their bodies there. And so when we talk
it's one big cemetery.
Right. So when we talk about 250 years, you know, of American history, it is important for us as Black media and Black press to also talk about the narrative of the Black experience in those 250 years, because if we don't do it, who will? And it's not all pretty. We talked about yesterday them bringing back this Christopher Columbus statue at the White House to talk about 250 years. So yeah, we're going to talk about how y'all killed and lynched people too. That's part of your history too. So we'll continue to bring these stories, and we will continue to narrate 250 years. Last week, we celebrated 199 years of the Black press in this country. That's part of the 250 years too. So it is imperative and important, you know, from even a musical perspective, you being on the radio, Frankie, and talking about the contributions of Black music, from rock and roll, you know, to the hymns that we used to sing for the Underground Railroad. You know, they'd be in the field singing, And those were chants to let you know how to get north. That's part of the American history, okay, of 250 years. And so it's up to us to make sure that that story is told too. And that's not just, you know, for us, it's to teach our kids, because they ain't teaching it in the schools now because they can't teach Black history.
I was just about to say they're burning books right now. So yeah, absolutely.
So 250 years of the Black experience, you can find it right here on Black Press USA. All right. Let's talk a little bit about hair. Solange said, don't touch my hair. Okay, so to combat hair discrimination and ensure equity in the beauty industry, New York State has laid out guidelines for cosmetology schools to incorporate training for textured and curly hair. So under the revised guidelines, cosmetology programs must now provide specific instructions on curl pattern recognition to help students identify the need of different hair densities and textures. Additionally, the curriculum prioritizes chemical safety, ensuring the proper applications of relaxers, perms, and color treatments on fragile hair. The intent is to provide quality care for highly textured strands that react differently than straight hair. And students are required to achieve mastering in styling techniques such as protective styles like braids. I have some braids, twists, and to receive, you have to do all of this now to receive a cosmetology license. I love this. I love this.
I agree 100%. There was a conversation that was being had with a lot of models who talked about how they were poorly misrepresented when it came to hair for fashion shows, television, things of that nature. You got to remember, Cicely Tyson was the first Black woman to sport cornrows on television. You know what I mean? So we have been grossly misrepresented. I had a young lady, and I won't say any names, but I was going on for a TV show, and it was a little white girl, sweet as pie. She told me, I know how to do ebony hair. And I said, well, you know what? Good for you. Right. Good thing I came with my hair already done. But yeah, you know, like what? You know what I mean?
She wanted you to know that she could handle the assignment. That's what she was saying.
She could handle the assignment, and good for her. But there is a lot that cannot. And that was a big talk, you know, that these women looked atrocious in some of these situations where they had to hit the runway, and they felt like they were misrepresented. Tyra Banks, Naomi Campbell, they all talked about how they had to do their own hair in a lot of situations in order to go out on that runway and look like something, you know. So I'm glad it's being addressed. Right. You know, I'm glad it's finally being addressed. It should. You should be able to know how to do everything when you go.
Right. You should. It should be a part of the cosmetology experience. And yes. To your point, like, you know, Gabrielle Union, Taraji P. Henson, Tracy Ellis Ross, they have all talked about Hollywood, you know, not understanding Black hair and how they had to fight to have Black representation with makeup and with hair.
Yep.
You know, because yeah, and I was in the I think I was in Sephora when I was in DC, and one of the representatives or the service people that help you, she was talking about how it was Rihanna who kind of started the makeup color palette to expand the basis of foundation, because, you know, there used to be only a few colors.
Yeah. And Juvia, you got to give, you know, different makeup companies like Juvia and Fenty, you know, their props, because they were, you know, it was a lot of those that did not represent us. And then they would come out with this few little colors for different types of skin. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? That would be their thing. And I won't say what company, but I think we all know who I'm talking about. But yeah, I think we are coming a long way. We finally even got a Band-Aid that matches our colors.
We got the Band-Aids. Okay. I love it. No, the evolution of beauty in cosmetics. to represent us. That's part of 250 years
Absolutely.
of American history, you know, because before they used to have to, you know, mix different colors to get your color. But now your color is available to you. Dr. Marilyn went back a little bit and she said, my sorority, along with the Omegas, clean and placed flowers on unmarked graves in Dallas where they buried slaves annually. So this is all across the country. And so when we think about and we hear all these headlines about 250 years of America, you know, this is the stain. You know, this is what they've done to us. And we have to talk about that too. We have to remind them as they celebrate, we have to say, excuse me, don't forget about this. Excuse me. Okay. Mr. White Man, Miss Black Woman got something to say. Excuse me. All right. So let's move on to the next story and get to some fun conversations. Okay. Jay-Z has taken over the timeline. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. Okay. I mean, and I ain't heard nothing from 50 Cent. I know it's coming, but what you gotta say, 50? What you gotta say? But Jay-Z has just sold out 3 nights at the Yankee Stadium and dropped a new interview on GQ. And so the hip hop legend opened up about fundamentally shaping the Super Bowl show since taking over the role back in 2019. He talked about his family. He talked about so much, but let's see a clip of one of the things he had to talk about.
You are kind of setting a mold or leading a charge for like what the successful Black man is allowed to do, and like breaking these spaces, breaking these confines.
Yeah. I even want you to take that out of your vocabulary.
Take what?
Allowed. You know what I'm saying? We're not allowed to do anything. You know, in order for someone to allow you, they have to have authority over you.
Mm-hmm.
No one has authority over us. We exist like everyone else here. No one can allow us to do anything. But that word comes from a real space. And I want to eliminate all those type of words for us.
Do you feel like you are kind of...
I love that. You know, I love it. You know, he talked about so many different things. He talked about rap beef between Kendrick and Drake and how it's now toxic. I mean, and I love the fact how he says that he's not going to rap about shit that he doesn't do anymore. You know, he's on his grown man and he has to rap about things that really are happening to him or what he thinks about what's happening in the world. What are your thoughts, Frankie, about Jay-Z's return?
I think it's great. I think it falls right in line with what we need right now, especially Gen X. I think it is a prelude to something bigger. We had a conversation about this briefly yesterday, you and I. You think that it might be
a return.
A tour. He did mention briefly during that conversation that if he does make another album, it would be something that would make him happy. It's not basically for us. It's for us, but it's something that would make him feel complete. I think it's great. He also did the Roots picnic that sold out as well. I was number 533,684 and keep trying to get my tickets, and I got them. I know, right? And for night 2. But I think it's what we need right now. I think Jay-Z is amazing, you know, despite the fact that if you notice, they tried to throw a monkey wrench in his game. He's way too classy and intelligent to be able to, you know, give in to what they want, you know, and that's why he is Jay-Z.
Right.
Like he said, I'm Jay-Z. You know what I'm saying during the interview. And I think it's what we need right now. I think it's, with everything going on, it's a great distraction, and why not? People talk about, some people I was reading in the comments say, yes, we need another Jay-Z album. Some other people said, no, we don't need another one. 444 should have just been it, and that was it. I disagree.
I disagree.
I feel like as long as he can make good music, there will always be a need for good music. Music is what we thrive off of. You know what I'm saying? Music, for me, it alters how I feel. So
me too. And I think that Jay-Z has found a way to speak, to what he's going through. Like, I love Entrepreneur that him and Pharrell did a few years back, talking about Black men, Black excellence, giving out free game in that song. And so I think that Jay-Z can really speak to Black men. And it's important, especially now when you think about what hip hop has become. And him even talking about, where the state of hip hop is. I think that he can contribute a lot, and he could give free game. And I think that people who haven't in this generation experienced Jay-Z, they'll be like, that's how I want to get my grown man on. He's at the top of his game right now. And I was talking yesterday to Jill, and then we kind of had our own formula about maybe Act 3 is on the run.
That's what I said. I think that him and Beyonce might be coming out with a joint album.
And then we get Act 3 is on the run. Because remember, they did On the Run Tour 1, they did On the Run Tour 2. This could be the Act 3 that we all need.
Yep.
Because those two together are like tag team, okay?
Please, they don't get no better. And I think that that's what we might be seeing. It might be a prelude to a kiss with this whole tour. You got to remember, as far as timing is concerned and marketing, they are gurus with this.
They're very calculating.
Nobody has done it better in the music.
Yeah, they're very calculating when it comes to the music game and how they move. And so, like I say, I think this is the year for Gen X. Everybody is coming out. And I think that the younger generation, the millennials and the Gen Zers, they need to see what hip hop was, because realistically, Gen Z is the one that founded hip hop. Hip hop is only 53. We 53. Well, I'm 53. And so this is the generation to evolve it and take it back and reset it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm loving all of this. What about the Salt and Pepper, the TLC and En Vogue tour that they just dropped? A lot of women, a lot of people are excited about that.
I am being one of them. and again, I think what I really love about Jay-Z and Beyonce is that they really pay attention to people and patterns, and they understand people. Now is the time that we need all of this. We need a healthy distraction. You know what I mean? From what's going on. We do. I'm not saying we need to turn a blind eye to everything that's going on, because we still need to stay abreast with that. But it's a really good distraction, and I'm here for it.
It is. And I always say, every now and then, I love how we are coping under this Trump-Clan administration. We are still finding our joy. Jill Scott is giving it to us. Jay-Z is giving it to us now. Mike V says we need a conversation between Jay and Obama about the state of Black men. I like that. That's good. That's a good one. That's a good one. Somebody send that to Rock Nation into the Obama Foundation. That would be great to do for the opening of the Obama Foundation, which is happening on Juneteenth
weekend.
Yeah. Put that in somebody there. I want to come too. I'm thinking about coming because that is, talk about 250 years, baby. That's 250 years. That's probably the biggest event of 250 years, okay?
And kudos to them, because they even had a Black construction company make the Obama Library and everything surrounding it. So, I mean, it's just deeply rooted in us. And for Chicago, me being a Chicagoan, it's heavier than what you might think because of that area where it's in. My parents went to high school right across the street from there. It's a lot in that surrounding area. That's the area where, a lot of the Black Panthers and, it's just really.
It's a significant area.
It's significant. Exactly. Mm-hmm. It's really big for us. So, I definitely will be going home that weekend for that.
Okay, Mike V, please. They don't want the smoke. He says, what if Trump sends ICE to the Obama Library on opening day?
Baby, listen, in Chicago, there will be slow singing and flower bringing.
Ooh, okay. If that burglar alarm starts ringing, okay? All right. So let's talk a little bit about, okay, so Diddy has had some people come out on his behalf. Young Miami. I mean, she kept it 100 and real about her thoughts on how Diddy, sowed seeds into her. So she has a different perspective of what everybody else has been saying. And Usher. He's also jumped into the conversation with Jabari Young from Forbes for the Enterprise Zone. Usher addressed his thoughts about Diddy. Take a look at this.
In the same way, I think many people choose to look past the reality of what our country is, the standards that we now stand on. We can't ignore the reality of the history. But in many ways, I think certain people are prosecuted and maybe not recognized for the greatness, that they offer. I don't have anything negative to say about Sean Combs because my experience was not what the world has seen and how he's been, misrepresented. I'm not saying that every man is perfect. I'm not saying that all of us don't have flaws, but I can't, with any sense of humanity, not recognize the valuable contributions that this man made. For us as Black entrepreneurs, for us as businessmen, for us as people who transition, culture and ideas into something that's tangible and becomes business. So many people benefited from what he created. And I acknowledge that. And that's why I see him as legacy.
Yeah. You told Shannon Sharp you learned a lot about business during that era.
Absolutely.
What'd you learn?
Puff was a mentor, but he was like you have that really, really hard teacher. But you're watching something in real time. I think that the idea of the level of discipline that came with that time in business, especially in an era that was trying to prove itself culturally in hip hop. Now you can't turn on the television and not see the influence of hip hop.
That's right.
But the people who actually made that appropriate and are the forefathers are people like Sean Combs. And not just in the great times that they had musically, but in the idea of being able to find ways to monetize culture and create something that was not just Black or white. It was colorless. It was green. That's who I see that man as. I mean,
Find ways to monetize culture. And it's true. Diddy can be a monster, but he can be a brilliant entrepreneur at the same time.
I will say this. There is a Black female actress who a lot of my colleagues came to me and was like, oh, you're about to do something with her. She's mean and she's this and she's that. And I've worked with her on several occasions. I've never experienced that side of her. With me, she's always been very professional, very kind, very compassionate, very loving, very respectful. I've never had that side of her, which they paint her out to be this monster. So I think I agree with them both. I also see that there is a pattern for successful Black men in this country. Once they reach a certain level, they're being torn down. I think any Black man who has too much power is an issue in this country. Too much money, too much power. That's why I often worry about people like Jay-Z, who, as you can see, has tried to stay out the way for the longest of being in the middle of any kind of BS, so to speak. So, like he said, is he perfect? By no means, no one is. And we all have our own demons. But we cannot negate the fact that this man has made an immense contribution to the culture.
Yeah, he's part of the soundtrack. If you're from Gen X, he's part of the soundtrack to your life.
Our lives, yeah.
The cultural moments that he has provided should not be ignored. And at the same time, you can be critical of him and how he's treated women. And at the end of the day, he's in prison because of that. But it still doesn't take away from, the joy that his his mogulness has provided for the culture. And so I applaud Usher for being bold enough, because it's some people like a DJ Khaled, you haven't heard anything.
Man,
you ain't heard nothing.
Started with him. I'm so disappointed in him. Oh my
God. Let's just be real transparent. It's going to be interesting to see how Jay-Z navigates through this, because that was once his buddy, and now it's like, I don't know who this man. I don't know this man. And so, it's going to be interesting to see. And so it looks like Usher and Young Miami are like, he's coming home.
I was just about to say, I think he might be coming home sooner than we think.
Right. He's coming home. And so let me get it out the way now. Another person that I'll be interested to see how they navigate is Mary J. Blige. How do you navigate that? Because that was your Betsy. And so, and Dr. Merlin says, everyone is entitled to their opinions. We can't give these celebrities a pass. I guarantee if Diddy beat Usher's daughter or sister, he would not care about what contributions he made. I mean, everybody has their opinion. Yeah. I'm just saying that I can separate the art from the man. I do it with Bill Cosby. I do it with R. Kelly. I watch the Cosby Show at least 3 times a week. Okay. I listen to R. Kelly when I want to hear my favorite songs.
With R. Kelly.
Really?
It's hard for me with R. Kelly. And I know R. Kelly personally, but it's hard for me. And it's really, for me, it's a teeter-totter, because I've seen him at his most vulnerable, and I feel sorry for him because he was a victim who then turned into a victimizer. But I also know some of his victims, so I cannot really listen to his music like I used to.
Well, I
can watch the Cosby Show though, but I cannot listen to his music.
I can't listen to some songs, right? Your Body's Calling for Me. I used to love that song, but now when I listen to it, I'm like, oh Lord.
Cringy.
It's cringy. But for you, girl, for you, Step in the Name of Love. I mean, it's a perfect backyard boogie. I could separate the two.
Yeah, maybe Step in the Name of Love, yes, because it makes me think of home. So yeah, I can see that.
And he's in prison. He's serving his time, and I think that's what this is part of 250 years. The idea, you do a crime, you serve the time. He is serving time. R. Kelly probably will never get out of prison.
And I think that while he's in there, this is what I thought just was wild to me. I think he had some kind of term in his sentencing that he would not receive help as far as mental health until like he's been in there for 20 years. I think that should be a part of the reformation of you prison is supposed to reform you. I think that should be from the day you step into prison, that should be something that should be on the forefront. Mental health, or dealing with the issues, what got him there to begin with. He didn't just wake up one morning and start, doing these things to women. It was a pattern, and that's even a bigger conversation in the Black community.
Right. Baby Bubba says no bump and grind, huh? With the laughing emoji. I love a good chat. All right.
Baby Bubba.
No, Baby Bubba. Let's go on to our last story of the day before we get into our Black Facts. Sweet 16, NCAA, March Madness starts. We're in the Sweet 16, baby. So Don Staley, head coach of the South Carolina, where you're DJing, the South Carolina Gamecocks women's basketball team surprised the Southern University, the HBCU women's basketball team, with gifts. And this was ahead of their NCAA tournament matchup, showing respect and support for the HBCU program before they faced off on the court. Now, Staley stopped by Southern University's hotel before the game. taking time to greet the players as she prepared to potentially face them in the next round. And she gifted them with some Louis Vuitton Imagination perfume. Now, that's not no cheap perfume. But Dawn Staley is a class act. I love how she's very intentional about making sure that HBCUs are a part of the process. And she also, I don't know if you know, but Destiny Littleton, who was stuck over in Jerusalem when the war first started, she made sure that she and other players got back home. I mean, buying tickets and everything. She is the real deal. Now, that's what you call a GOAT.
Absolutely. And you took the words right out of my mouth. She is and has always been a class act, whether she was, when she was a player to now her being a coach. She's amazing. I have nothing ever negative to say about her. I think she is just exactly what the female basketball league needed as a leader. And she's doing just that. She actually leads. And she leads with grace and with compassion and with respect. And she's well respected for a reason. She's in the position that she's in for a reason. I never have anything negative to say about her.
Right. And her swag when she hits the court, baby.
She's amazing. She is
amazing.
She's just
coming through.
She is exactly who you think she is. I had an opportunity to meet her briefly one time, and she's exactly who you think she is.
And I think I'm going with the Gamecocks all the way. My USC is out. Juju's not in, so I'm like, okay, and USC is out. I love Flage at LSU, but I think that I am going. Oh, and I love UConn. I'm sorry, I do love UConn too, but I think I'm going with the Gamecocks in South Carolina. That's
Please
my
do.
pick.
And thank you.
That's
and big shout
pick.
out to Flage. She took her last time on the court as an LSU player. So shouts out to her and the whole and Angel Reese and what those ladies did for women college basketball. They did an amazing job, set a standard very high, and I'm very proud of them.
And now they're getting paid. Okay, they got the deal. They got the deal. They're getting paid. So drop in the chat who you're going for: men's basketball, women's basketball for March Madness. We're in the Sweet 16. Who do you think is going to take it? But I'm going with the Gamecocks. All right. And finally, let's get into our Black History facts. We have 3 for you today. One we had to remember because she is a part of the foundation of what the Black press is all about. I'm talking about famed journalist, activist, anti-lynching crusader, Ida B. Wells, who passed away today in 1931. Gone, but not forgotten. And hopefully she's proud of us for continuing to uplift and document the Black experience in this country. So we remember Ida B. Wells today. We want to fast forward to 2007, where the United Nations officially designated March 25th as the International Day of Remembrance of the victims of slavery and the transatlantic slave trade. Also a part of 250 years of Black history in this country and American history at large. So we remember those who didn't make it. We remember those who did, which a lot of us are the lineage of those that did make it over here and were brutally forced to do labor for this country and for white people. That's part of 250 years of American history too, okay? And so we remember those lives and we are thankful and we stand on their shoulders and we're here today celebrating culture and life. And then let's fast forward to 1983. This is another one during the Motown 25 Yesterday, Today, and Forever special. Billie Jean and debuted the Moonwalk, changing pop forever. Yeah, who remember that? Remember that? Remember it? Oh my gosh, it was a moment, and this goes back to art of the TV. This Motown 25. I remember being excited and sitting in front of TV with my entire family watching this Motown special. Do you remember, Frankie?
Absolutely. We talked about it the next day at school. Everybody was super excited. I was just glued to the television with all my Michael Jackson buttons on. So yes, I remember it. And that's how I'll be walking in to see the biopic April 24th as well. Moonwalking.
100%. I can't wait. We're making it a girls' night out. My mom and her friends, they're like, we have to get tickets. I'm like, okay, I'm in. And last but not least, on March 25th, 2002, Halle Berry made history as the first African-American woman to win the Academy Award for Best Actress, winning for her role in Monsters Ball, as reported by Black Press, Los Angeles Sentinel, and the Mission Chronicle. So congratulations to Halle Berry as well. Frankie, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, Neil. This is amazing what you're doing. Keep up the good work, and thank you for thinking of me to be a part of it.
We definitely want to have you back in the future. So maybe in about a month or two. Yeah, and then how can we listen to you? Because now everything can be listened to worldwide, even if you're in Birmingham or South Carolina. How can we check you out?
You can stream my show Monday through Saturday. I'm on Monday through Friday from 2 to 7, Saturdays from 3 to 8, 987kiss.com. You can listen to it live on there. Or if you want to hear me in Greenville, South Carolina, I'm on from 2 to 7 Eastern time, Monday through Friday, and 3 to 8 on Saturdays as well. And you can go to 1073jams.com.
And what type of music are you playing? Are you playing hip hop or?
I do a little bit of everything. I'll give you an example. We play some DeBarge, we play some Michael Jackson, we play Kehlani, we play Olivia Dean, Don Carroll. So yeah, whatever you could think of. Jill Scott. Yes, good music for grown folks.
All right. So Frankie has the good music. And of course, over at Black Press, we have the news. And we both have the culture. So head over to blackpressusa.com. And tomorrow we'll have the managing editor of Howard University's Hilltop. Yes, we'll talk HBCU headlines and find out what the millennials and Gen Zers are up to. That's tomorrow's show. But until time, if you want to know what's happening in the news, it's blackpressusa.com. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace out.